Hello, my name is Alexandra and I work for Unfrozen, the studio that's currently making Heroes of Might and Magic Olden Era. To make the best game we can, we also need to engage with the community and talk to all kinds of players. So we did a series of interviews. Our today's guest is kesZu, a Heroes 3 veteran, competitive player, streamer and commentator who made a huge impact on this community and is probably best known as one of the people behind the H3GG team, who are the organizers of the international tournaments for Heroes of Might and Magic. So of course we talked with him mostly about the competitive scene and the possible future of Heroes 3 tournaments. Hi, it's very nice to meet you, very nice to have this chat with you and discuss Heroes of Might and Magic. First of all, I would like you to tell a couple of words about yourself, who you are, to the viewers who might not know you.
Yeah, sure. I'm Michał, also known as kesZu. I'm a full-time Twitch and YouTube streamer and owner of H3.GG, which is the biggest Heroes 3 tournament organization in Poland. And that's all, I think.
So it's an honor and a pleasure to talk to a professional representative of the Polish School of Heroes. How did you get to know about the game?
Well, my first contact with Heroes was about, I don't know, maybe 23 years ago, when I played with my brother and dad on the hot seats. And a dozen or so years later, when I saw Horn of the Abyss and multiplayer lobby, I was struck by nostalgia and returned to my beloved childhood game. That's when I started my adventure with streaming.
Do you know, like, we all know that Heroes of Might and Magic is very popular, specifically in Poland. Did you ever think about why it happened that way? So why is it popular specifically in Poland?
I think it's quite popular in Poland because like 25 years ago we have problems with good computers, you know, and Heroes you could start Heroes on bad computer. Also you need just one computer in your neighborhood and a group of childs can just play together on hot seats.
What about other games? Like, on your YouTube page, you stream a lot of Heroes, but not only Heroes of Might and Magic 3. Could you tell a bit more about what other games you like to play, and what other games you like to stream? And, like, are they the same or different?
Yes, it's true. I mainly stream Heroes 3, but from time to time I also play other titles on my streams. Sometimes I just need a break from Heroes 3 and sometimes I just want to play something else. That's because Heroes 3 is not my only love when it comes to the gaming industry. In addition to Heroes for relaxation, I like to play mainly single-player RPGs on my streams, but not on the streams. I play a lot of competitive games like, I don't know, League of Legends, Dota 2, Counter-Strike, etc.
Are there, like, maybe any features or elements of more old-school games that you particularly enjoy and that you feel that the modern gaming industry has moved past?
Well, I think older games are not that fast as modern games, you know? Everything happens slowly, you have to take your time to achieve anything, and just you have better feeling with your own character in this game, so I think that's it.
On your Twitch page, you describe yourself not only as a streamer, but also as a commentator. Indeed, we've seen you host a lot of major tournaments for the H3GG League, which we'll talk about in a second. But I'm just curious, do you prefer organizing tournaments and commentating on them more? Or do you actually, like, enjoy the thrill of the battle and, like, still like to compete against other players, basically play the game?
Well, it's definitely commentating and organizing tournaments. It gives me the most fun and I feel I'm pretty good at it. When it comes to playing competitively, I also participate in many tournaments, some with success, but I treat it as entertainment. I'm rather an average good player, to be honest.
Okay, let's talk about Heroes in general. Obviously, like, Heroes 3 and HOTA are the thing, you know, in the Heroes scene. But have you played other installments in the series? Do you like them?
Yeah, sure. As a child I also played a bit of Heroes 2, but it was Heroes 3 that stole my heart. As for the later parts of the series, I really liked part 4. I like the RPG aspect of leveling your hero and fighting with him, you know. You could fight just by your hero with dozens of troops, and it was really fun for me. I often even say that Heroes 4 is a good game, but a pretty bad Heroes game. And to be honest, I never played later parts like Heroes 6 and 7.
You also mentioned that the game that stole your heart was Heroes 3, as for a lot of us. Why do you think that is? Like, what makes specifically the third installment of the series that unique? Why is it the most popular? Like, have you ever thought about it?
Yeah. I think it's pretty fun to play because it's, I don't know how to say, it's easy in some way, but hard in other way. Every scenario you play, it's other than the previous one, you know? You can play 100 scenarios, 101 random maps, and everyone will be other than the previous one. So you can have fun as long as you want, to be honest. And also, I think graphics are pretty good. Even now, after 25 years, you can just look at Heroes 3 and it looks just good. It's not bad at all.
But you also mentioned replayability, and as one of the main reasons for the game's longevity, right? However, I'm curious. You also mentioned that you like Heroes because, like, you like slower games, you like longer games. Basically, you want like a single match to be more important than like chasing the ladder in faster games. However, if we take a look at Twitch numbers, it's no secret that, generally speaking, modern audiences follow faster games more. You know, like games that are faster, more dynamic, maybe visually more exciting. To you as a content creator, as someone, you know, who doesn't just play with his friends back home, but also plays for the viewership, do you think that Heroes could do more in this regard and be better, basically attract more audiences? And what do you think would need to change or be updated in the game or in the series for that to happen?
Yeah, sure. The length of the game definitely has huge impact on the popularity of Heroes. However, other factors definitely have an impact as well. Games like, I don't know, League of Legends, Dota 2, PUBG or something are easy to play and hard to master, so you can have fun regardless of your skill level, right? The threshold for entry into multiplayer in Heroes 3 is very, very, very high. There are a lot of rules, some of them are contractual, and a solid tutorial is missing. I mean, multiplayer tutorial is missing. And I think many people who even know Heroes 3 from single player, played it, I don't know, for 10 or even 20 years, are overwhelmed by multiplayer. The game definitely has to be easy to play, hard to master. I think it's the biggest problem of playing Heroes 3 competitively. I mean, other Heroes too. There need to be an extensive tutorial to introduce the new player to the game's mechanic one by one, I think. The number of these mechanics are overwhelming, and mastering all of them at once, in my opinion, is bordering on a miracle. I don't know, maybe some training scenarios when you can discover and teach them one by one in one time would be a good idea. I mean, so you are starting on one scenario, so you are taught learning, next one some fighting skills, etc. And you are just discovering one by one these mechanics.
So you feel that just an extensive tutorial on the game's mechanics, like, but a really good one, would be enough to draw more people into the scene?
Yeah, sure. I think it's enough, and maybe some kind of marketing. Maybe you can share videos. I don't know, replays of the best players from their matches, so you can just watch this match of one of the best player. I mean, and learn something from him.
What about you mentioned that they introduced new game mechanics. So do you like the faction gameplay wise?
Yeah, it's pretty fun to play. There are a lot of new mechanics, like, I don't know, explosive robots, I mean, or dreadnoughts with something like laser. I really like. It's really fresh.
One criticism I've heard is that some unit abilities in Factory are dependent on other units, so like you get mechanics who can fix robots, basically.
Yep.
And that kind of encourages the player to go mono-faction in their army, so you are less encouraged to grab creatures from other factions, because the creatures of your own faction have abilities that tie into one another. Speaking a bit more generally, do you think it's a good thing where within one faction creature abilities tie into one another, or do you feel that it kind of limits the freedom of the player?
I think it's good. I think that every city can play on their own strats. Now in Heroes 3, you play. Every game looks the same. You play with wyverns, cyclops, angels, giants, and that's all. I think that playing on your own troops from your own city, it's pretty better. Maybe you can fit some other creatures from other cities, or I don't know, neutral creatures into your army, but the core should be from your city, in my opinion, of course.
What about some other changes that were introduced by the Hota crew recently? Some criticism that I've seen, generally speaking, regarding their approach to balance, was that since Hota is so based, is so focused on the competitive multiplayer community, it tends to nerf things, which makes them less fun for those who are not into the competitive play. So like nerfing things like necromancy, nerfing things like I don't know, stables, which give fewer movement points. Do you think these are the right thing to do? Do you like this approach to balancing in general?
Well, I think balancing things are pretty good. I can't really understand how balancing things can be bad for single player. When things are balanced, you can play the game in very other ways, when before necromancy nerf, you could do this as well, but there was only one good strategy to make every map as easy as it is possible. You are picking, even if you play castle, inferno, dungeon, you are looking for necromancy. You are looking for hero from Necro, and you are farming skeletons. So when game is balanced, you can play every game with your own strategy, and this strategy will be good. Not there are no the best strategies and other are worse, but every strategy is good. This is how balance works. According to the stables, you said, I'm not biggest fan of reducing movement speed from stables because reducing movement increases gameplay time, and any increases in gameplay time, I mean in multiplayer, in my opinion, is bad. But fortunately, this is not a big change. In multiplayer, you are looking for, I think, two spells. There are the most important spells, I mean Town Portal and Dimension Doors. And you can really play the late multiplayer game without these spells. But you can get this from guild, and you could get this just from guild, or you could roll some days in your guild to get this. I mean, one player could take it in, I don't know, first day of second week, and second player had to roll it 4 times to get this Town Portal, for example. So the disproportion of time when you get these important spells was pretty much too big. And in the last patch, they changed it to make it from 1 to 3 roll. You can't get these control spells instantly, but you have to roll it 1, 2, 3 or 4 times to get these control spells. But I think it's not a sufficient change. Still, if players start building guilds at the same time, the difference in gaining control spells can be several days, and this is far too much. So I think things like buying these control spells, just spending your resources, will be better than rolling, because there are still some days, and it's not equal.
How would you solve this issue in a potential imaginary new Heroes of Might and Magic game. Specifically the issue of control spells and map traversal, because you need Town Portal and Dimension Draw so hard, like they are so important because they allow you to traverse the map quickly and like get wherever you need to get in time. Like, what would you think would be a healthy approach to map traversal that would lessen the impact of these two spells, or should these two spells remain as impactful as they are?
Well, I never thought, I was never thinking that how heroes can look like without those spells, or I mean competitive games without the spells, or more control spells, and how more control spells can work. But according to the Town Portal and Dimension Door, I think if it remains, you need something to get them faster. I mean, without rolling guild, just by buying them or something. And also about skills of magic, I wish control spells works like, I don't know, magic arrows, so you can use them with any school of magic, like fire, water or something, just like magic arrow, because you know the magic, earth magic in Heroes 3 is too much overpowered, and it's much better than every other.
Generally speaking, do you like Hota's balance now?
Well, I think it's not that good, but there's nothing better for now, so it's okay. But yeah, for sure, the Hota needs a lot of more balance. I mean, even troops. For example, Jibus Cross breaks. You can fight with 100 Cyclops or fight with 40 Nagas. 40 Nagas are pretty much easier to make than 100 Cyclops. There are even simple changes can happen in Horn of the Abyss to make game more balanced. And that's schools of magic, control spells, even all mage guild heroes. Yeah, we need more balance, yes.
I'm curious also what you think about the balance of different factions of the game. We all know that there is trading, so for those who might not be aware, in competitive Heroes of Might and Magic play, the two players kind of discuss which factions each of them is allowed to take. And since some factions are considered stronger, the person who picks the stronger faction pays starting resources to the other person. So basically this sort of like balancing factions out is a minigame in and of itself. Even before the match has started, you are already clashing with your opponent and like negotiating the starting conditions. Do you like this aspect of competitive play? Do you like the trading, let's call it minigame?
Well, to be honest, I dream that cities are not divided into stronger and weaker ones, right? I would like each of them to be strong in a particular aspect, to offer different game strategies useful also in multiplayer. Gold trade is fine. Well, it's just a contractual rule that doesn't always work. Sometimes due to the richness of the map, this gold difference can be unnoticeable, right? You are minus 8,000 gold, but still you have full heroes in round 2, in first turn. So it's better when cities are not divided into stronger and weaker ones, but I'm not sure if it's easy to happen.
Each faction is geared towards certain goals, so they are better for various templates. So the approach that you are talking about would make all factions, let's say it's possible, would make them all even on one template, but not necessarily suited for other templates. So do you think that it's alright to have this trading minigame if we keep in mind that like maybe a certain faction is just not good for Jabus Cross, but it might be good for another template, for example?
Well, I'm not the biggest fan of this, that one city is good for one template, but bad for another template. It's not fun, I think, because when you want to play some templates, you want to play every city, right? I think that every city should be good enough for every template. I mean, maybe other than other cities, but good enough. In Heroes 3 there are some cities that on some templates are too bad, I think. For example, Stronghold on Jibus Cross or Inferno on Jibus Cross. When it comes to trade, I don't know, Inferno with Necropolis trade can be around 8 or even 9,000 gold where you start with 10,000 gold. It's too much, I think. This imbalance on cities on one template, it's too big.
Let's talk about hotkeys, quality of life, and stuff like that. So again, modders have added a huge number of functions to the game, like speeding gameplay up, like quick transfer of armies, like automatic calculation of movement points. And do you feel that there are any like hotkeys or quality of life functions that are missing?
First of all, the ability to set your own hotkey. I mean, so you can bind it for yourself. It also be useful to have additional improvements on the battlefield, like a shown range of the shooters, straight shot, or information about whether the counter was taken down. But I think hotkeys are pretty important. Games should have this thing, but the ability to set your own will be better, in my opinion.
Would you like to see more features added to the in-game lobby? The last major update, the match history feature, was a great and very useful addition, but surely there's something else that's missing.
I think it would be very cool to have player's profile, with statistic of templates, cities, victories and defeats. Also, spectator mode could be very useful for both commentators and novice players who would like to learn from the best players.
Now I'd like to talk about the win conditions a bit. So, the normal win condition for a classic map in Heroes is defeating all your opponent's heroes and grabbing all their castles.
Yep.
However, it leads to the situations where one player can be losing, but they can just, keep jumping around the map, grabbing a castle here and there, and prolonging the game for a while. And history has seen the situations where, a player would rise up from almost certain defeat and end up grabbing a victory. Generally speaking, do you like how endgame and win conditions are handled in the classic Heroes 3 matches?
Well, in Heroes 3, dragging a losing game by force does not bring glory to anyone, and it's badly viewed by players, but, in Heroes 3 we do know each other's. But sometimes, however, the situation is not obvious, and players standing at a disadvantage still have a chance to turn the situation around, especially on more complex templates, where many aspects of gameplay are important at the same time. I mean army strength, expansion of the map, number of well-trained heroes, access to control spells, economic situation, etc. And we have already seen many spectacular comebacks in tournament games, and watching them has always provided great excitement. However, there is definitely a need for mechanics that allow execution of a victory without chasing all the opponent's heroes. For example, one of the games of the grand finals of the Polish Cup lasted about 10 hours. And as organizers, we were terrified whether we would fit into the time frame set by a rented facility. I don't know, maybe examples of such mechanics could be the King of the Castle rule for the map, or maybe area limitation of the map known from Battle Royale games or something.
Now let's talk about H3GG. We touched upon it before, and it's like a very important, a very crucial thing in the Heroes of Might and Magic world. But for the uninitiated, could you tell a bit more about just what H3GG is and how it came to be?
We are just a group of friends, people devoting our free time to our hobby, which is Heroes 3 and the competence scene of this game. And we make every effort to provide players with a place to compete for prizes and as much entertainment as possible for the fans, the viewer of our streams.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think is H3GG's greatest achievement?
I think that it was World Championship. There was around 1,000 players, and now 25th Anniversary Championship. We are going to have finals very soon. I mean in around 3 weeks from now. And I think that those two tournaments were our biggest achievement.
That sounds incredible. 1,000 competitors are a lot. That sounds incredible. Do you feel that the online and offline ways to play the game differ in any way?
Not sure, to be honest. Maybe just some stressful situations when you play offline. We also had a smaller tournament offline. I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, when we just have small JaskiniaBehemota Cross tournament which happened in one day in Łódź, and it is pretty fun to play offline. I think more emotions.
But you personally, do you enjoy online or offline events more?
Well, offline events, but we don't have a lot of them because it costs money, to be honest. You have to find sponsors, you have to find people who can work on this. So most of our tournaments events are online, but making even for finals offline event, it's pretty good.
Do you feel that the work you are doing, these tournaments, attract more new players to the game, as players or as viewers? Or do you feel that this is an activity that exists more for the core audience of Heroes?
Well, definitely we do attract more and more old and new players. Each new tournament attracts new, previously unknown players, and each new broadcast attracts new viewers interested in competitive gaming, right? We are, due to the Horn of the Abyss, we are not expanding as fast as we can, I think, because there are no new things in Heroes 3 which can keep players in the game, but we are doing our best to attract new players.
Generally speaking, I've noticed that H3GG players and Polish players in general prefer to play more complex templates. Leaving single hero modes aside, like Polish players prefer templates like Diamond or Firewalk, while the rest of the world plays JaskiniaBehemota Cross. Do you think there's any reason, or it just kind of happened to be this way?
Well, maybe not Diamond or Firewalk, because these are very niche templates these days, but it's true that more complex templates are very popular among Polish players. As I said before, many people think that templates like Duel or JaskiniaBehemota Cross are boring and repetitive. In addition, in Heroes 3 they are not balanced well enough. However, this does not mean that Duel or JaskiniaBehemota are less popular in Poland. In addition to our major tournaments like World Championships or 25th Anniversary Championship, competitions on templates like JaskiniaBehemota or Duel attract the most players and gather the largest audience on streams.
Going back to your World Championship, you were a commentator and an analyst at that tournament, and I'm just curious, were there any disputes over the rules or mechanics in the game? Because even in JaskiniaBehemota Cross there sometimes are debates over like what counts as a technical restart, and like on more complex templates there probably can be even more gray areas.
Well, yes. Every tournament in Heroes 3 needs quite a large staff of judges, that's normal. Unfortunately, the random map generator in Heroes 3 is imperfect and likes to play tricks. Of course, a large part of events can be predicted and described in the rules of the tournament, while many of them are unpredictable. So you need to have a judge who will just make a decision in game.
Like any maybe cool or scary stories about very unclear situations in this regard?
You said something about Firewalk template. There was a situation, as far as I remember, on the Firewalk template in some tournament. There is a biome with Dragon Utopias. You should have 4 to 7 Dragon Utopias on this biome. And there was no Utopias on this biome, so players were playing around 3 hours, and we have to make a decision, or they are playing more without Dragon Utopias, or we are doing technical restart and they have to begin another game after playing 3 hours. But I think it was a technical restart.
So what you're saying is that in order to make competitive play better in a hypothetical future Heroes of Might and Magic game, you would need to have a better, more predictable random map generator, and that works more clearly, right? But do you think it would also be helpful to have some of the rules that are not currently enforced be enforced by the game? Like, for example, a rule that you can't teleport into the central zone before you defeat the stack defending it. Do you think that adding such things to the game would be helpful to the competitive community?
It's not even helpful, but it have to be. It is must because as I said before, in Heroes 3 community we know each other. I know that my opponent won't break any rules, and he know that I won't break any rules. But I have no idea who I will play on the matchmaking. So with matchmaking, you have to make this in game.
So basically, you mentioned that to attract new people, to attract more new audiences, the scene needs like better marketing, better tutorials, but you didn't mention changing anything about the game. So is it correct that you feel that the core of the Heroes 3 gameplay, or like a game that would resemble it, is in itself good enough for the competitive scene? It's just that like these additional things that need to be better.
Yeah, first of all, the game should be developing all the time. So new patches, new balance things, maybe new cities, new templates, etc. Because even when you catch some new players, they will stick to Heroes for, I don't know, 6 months, and they are bored. There are nothing new in this game. So that's the biggest problem in Heroes of Might and Magic 3, that we have Horn of the Abyss, right? We have some patches, but they are not... We are waiting too much to new patches, right? We had Cove, now we have Factory, but no one is expecting anything new in the next months or maybe even years. So that's why we can develop as well.
Thank you very much for your time and for your answers and for this conversation. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much as well.